Hi, and welcome to 6 o'clock news. Today we'll be talking about the representation theory in media text. My first guest today is Laura Mulvey. How are you, Laura?
Well, I'm here to speak about my theory, which covers the idea of the prominent gender theory, the whole concept of the male gaze. And it's how the idea of the male audience has a sense of power and pleasure from watching women who are represented as objects for the male pleasure. I argue how media representations of women, the viewer are put in the masculine subject position, if you get what I mean, with the figure of the women on the screen as an object of desire. And this is, for example, seen within beautifully made A2 music video of Save It For Later, where the woman on the screen is presented in such a fluctuant and beautiful manner with her hair flowing behind her ears, and the male are watching her with a lot of desire. And I believe this is what a lot of the media does, as also they represent men as an active and in control, and they treat women as passive objects of desire.
Thanks for that, Laura. Well, our next guest is Judith Butler. What is your opinion on the matter?
I talk about the aspect of how we should reject the links of desire to gender and make them seem more flexible and free-floating and not caused by other stable factors, i.e. the media shouldn't be defining gender behaviours and how gender boundaries should be flexible. And this is seen well in this short scene, as it shows a young man getting all emotional and depressed over heartbreak. However, this is normally associated to women and therefore can be said to go against the norm. So I argue that the media put on gender performance.
Well, Judith, that was very insightful. Next, we're going to hear from Angela McRobbie.
I identify how the media influence gender roles and stereotypical traits. The idea of males being portrayed as aggressive and powerful, whilst females are presented as weak and subservient to men. And this is seen here of the men controlling and abusing the women under his power.
Next, we welcome Stuart Horn to the studio. Not too sure why he's just a Spider-Man, but what's your take on it?
My theory states that the audience of a product will often blur race and class, associating white people with being at the top of the hierarchy, whilst most other races fall below it. This is shown here in this clip through the close-up of the female expression of worry and the emotions of feeling scared. This conforms to the stereotypical horror convention of how the black person always dies first, and is always portrayed as the victim. This emphasises the idea of a white dominancy over the black people.
Well, see you later, Spider-Man. Next, we hear from Ken Gelder.
Hi there. I'm suggesting that a subculture can be determined by the negative or ambivalent relations to the social normities, which are presented here in this short clip by the props and the costume and the mise en scène. The ashtray and the beer can props show the protagonist's ambivalence to the accepted social norm of underage drinking and the smoking being illegal. The subculture is seen as negative due to the apparent criticism of societal standards, highlighting the character's age and class as being the main influences for this negative response to the social norm. Seeing this conforms to the stereotypical representation of young people being rebellious and typically against the system.
Next, we've got Dick Hebditch.
Bonjour to you, Mr. Newsreader. Yes, I'd like to talk about how symbols and signs can be very representative of different subcultures within society. For example, in this clip, we see lots of coats, tracksuit bottoms. The costumes are very reminiscent of the chav subculture that you have in Britain. Similarly, the location, the estate is very reminiscent of where you might find these kinds of people. That is it from me. I'll see you later. Au revoir.
Oh, that was a nasty fool right there. Well, anyways, moving on to what Edward Said has to said. Get it? Said.
My theory simply suggests the concept of Orientalism, where Western texts often use old colonial views of Eastern culture, where we consider the Western ideals as more civilized and more cultured than those of the Eastern world.
I am the better theorist, and I suggest that negative media representations of youths encourage actual existing youths to conform to this formulated representation, such as I, the evil transformer. However, looking at this scene, they entirely go against my theory. They use an upbeat, positive pop song to celebrate individuality and confidence and celebrating youth culture.
Well, that got out of hand really fast. Well, thanks for staying tuned and hope you gained a lot of good knowledge for your media exams to come.